Echoes of madness. The abandoned asylum stood like a sentinel of forgotten horrors, its crumbling facade looming over the surrounding landscape with an air of malevolence. It was a place whispered about in hushed tones, a relic of a bygone era when the mentally ill were cast aside and left to rot in the shadows. As a group of thrill-seekers, we were drawn to the asylum like moths to a flame, eager to explore its dark corridors and uncover its secrets. But little did we know our curiosity would lead us down a path from which there would be no return. The sun was setting as we approached the asylum, casting long shadows across the overgrown grounds. The building itself seemed to pulse with a sinister energy, its windows like empty eyes staring out into the night. "Are you sure about this?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling with uncertainty. I glanced at her, trying to muster up some bravado despite the fear gnawing at my insides. "Of course I'm sure. This is going to be the adventure of a lifetime." With that, I pushed open the rusted gates, and we ventured into the asylum grounds. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the sound of our footsteps echoed ominously against the walls. We made our way inside, our flashlights cutting through the darkness like knives. The asylum was a labyrinth of corridors and stairwells, each one more decrepit than the last. It was easy to imagine the suffering that had taken place within these walls, the screams of the tormented echoing through the empty halls. As we explored further, we began to notice strange things, shadows that seemed to move of their own accord, whispers that drifted through the air like the breath of ghosts. But we brushed off our unease, chalking it up to our overactive imaginations. It wasn't until we stumbled upon the asylum's old morgue that things took a truly sinister turn. The room was filled with rusted metal tables and decaying body bags, the stench of death hanging heavy in the air. And then, as if on cue, we heard it, a low guttural moan that seemed to reverberate through the walls themselves. Panic seized us then, our screams filling the air as we fled from the morgue in terror. But no matter where we ran, the moaning followed us, growing louder and more insistent with each passing moment. It was as if the very walls of the asylum were alive, their twisted forms reaching out to ensnare us in their grasp. Finally, we found ourselves backed into a corner, the moaning closing in on us from all sides. And then, with a deafening roar, the walls themselves seemed to collapse in on us, trapping us in a suffocating embrace of darkness. When I awoke, I found myself lying on the cold, damp floor of the asylum, my head throbbing with pain. I tried to sit up, but my limbs felt heavy and unresponsive, as if weighed down by some unseen force. As my vision cleared, I saw my friends lying motionless around me, their faces twisted in expressions of terror. And then, with a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, I realized that we were not alone. Standing over us was a figure cloaked in darkness, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. It spoke then, its voice a low, rumbling growl that seemed to come from the depths of hell itself. "You have trespassed in my domain," it said, its words echoing through the empty halls of the asylum. "And now you must pay the price." With a wave of its hand, the figure disappeared, leaving us alone in the darkness once more. And as the echoes of its voice faded away, we knew that we were trapped, doomed to wander the halls of the asylum for all eternity, our screams joining the chorus of madness that echoed through its haunted halls. The night bus. The night was thick with fog as I stood alone at the deserted bus stop, the glow of the streetlights casting eerie shadows on the pavement. I checked my watch impatiently, hoping that the bus would arrive soon and whisk me away from the desolate streets. Just as I was beginning to despair, I saw it approaching in the distance, its headlights piercing through the fog like twin beacons in the night. With a sense of relief, I stepped onto the bus, eager to escape the loneliness of the empty streets. But as the bus pulled away from the curb, a chill ran down my spine. There was something off about the atmosphere on board, a sense of unease that seemed to hang in the air like a thick fog. I glanced around nervously, taking in the other passengers seated around me. They were a motley crew, their faces shrouded in darkness as they stared blankly ahead. There was something unnerving about them, something that made my skin crawl. I tried to shake off my unease as the bus rumbled on through the night, the sound of its engine a steady drone in the background. But the feeling of dread only grew stronger with each passing moment, until it was all I could think about. And then, without warning, the bus lurched to a stop, its brakes screeching in protest. I looked out the window, my heart pounding in my chest as I saw where we were. It was a deserted stretch of road, surrounded on all sides by dense forest. There were no streetlights here, no signs of civilization, just darkness stretching out into infinity. Panic seized me then, my mind racing with thoughts of what could be lurking in the shadows. I tried to stand up to make a run for it, but something held me back, a force that seemed to grip me like a vice. And then, as if on cue, the other passengers began to stir, their movements slow and deliberate. With a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, I realized that they were no longer human. Their faces twisted and contorted into grotesque masks of horror, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. And then, with a chorus of unearthly screams, they lunged at me, their claws outstretched and gleaming in the darkness. I tried to fight them off, to push them away, but they were relentless, their grip like iron around my throat. And as the darkness closed in around me, I knew that I was doomed, just another victim of the night bus and its terrible secrets. But just as I was about to succumb to the darkness, I felt a sudden jolt, as if the world itself had shifted beneath my feet. And then, with a blinding flash of light, I found myself standing alone at the bus stop once more, the night silent and still around me. I stumbled backwards, my breath coming in ragged gasps as I tried to make sense of what had just happened. Had it all been a hallucination, a trick of the mind brought on by exhaustion and fear? But as I looked down at my trembling hands, I knew that it was all too real. The night bus was no ordinary mode of transportation. It was a gateway to hell itself, a vessel for the souls of the damned to roam the earth in search of their next victim. And as I turned and fled into the night, the sound of distant screams echoing in my ears, I knew that I would never be able to escape the horrors that lurked in the darkness, waiting to claim me as their own.